Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer.
But who is he?
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer.
And who is he?
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer.
And what he do?
And it's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another fresh episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, board-certified criminal defense lawyer. And today we are reacting to the Will Smith, Chris Rock saga. I'm going to play the video, and we're going to highlight a couple things on the video. And then I'm also going to talk to you about a couple different concepts. I'm going to talk to you about, first of all, what is assault? And, you know, what are the different levels of assault, and what does it mean? What is a charging decision? You know, whose decision is it to charge or not charge somebody with a crime? And then we're going to go into the more practical aspect of slapping the shit out of somebody and whether it's worth it or not. Before we get started, I just want to thank Skillshare for sponsoring another episode of CLR, Criminal Lawyer Reacts. You know, you guys, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about Skillshare. And you remember what I told you before. I don't just pimp any product. When I see a good deal, I like to pass it along. And, I want things that, will improve your life. What interests me in Skillshare is that it's a way to just improve just about any part of your life. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring and creative classes for anyone who loves learning, invest in yourself, and invest in your personal growth. I couldn't say that more strongly. I recently took one of the writing classes because I'm always trying to improve my writing and how to become a more effective communicator. If you're thinking about pursuing any kind of further education, whether it's music, whether it's any kind of skill you're trying to improve on, 2022 is the year to do it. Here's the deal, you guys. If you click the link below, the first 1,000 of my subscribers to click that link in the description will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare so you can start exploring your creativity today. So, click on the link below and get started with Skillshare and build like I always tell you to. So, let's just kind of go to the video.
Javier Bardem and his wife are both nominated. Now, if she loses, he can't win.
So you can tell he's playing husband and wife off against each other. That's Penelope Cruz and Javier Bardem, and and they're laughing, and it's all in good fun, right?
Praying that Will Smith wins, like please, Lord. Jada.
And he's laughing. He thinks, oh, he mentioned me. That's fine.
Yeah, G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right.
G.I. Jane 2. Now, G.I. Jane was a movie with Demi Moore, and Demi Moore was training to be a Navy SEAL, which that's a whole nother topic. But she had her head shaved in the movie, and so Jada Pinkett Smith has alopecia, and which is a hair condition, and for any woman, I don't care who you are or what race you are, any woman, their hair is a big deal. But this is an award show. You're sitting in the front row. So let's see what happens. Now, if this is right after that joke, you can see Will Smith. He's smiling. Everybody's around him smiling. She's not smiling so much. See, if you look at her, Will Smith has got a big grin on his face. She's beginning to be disgusted with the joke. He's still smiling, and she's now giving him the eye, the stink eye, I think we call that.
That was a nice one. Okay.
And he moves on right away. So there's a number of ways that this could be handled. But let's see how Will Smith decides to handle this.
I'm out here. Richard.
Now, Will Smith walking up to Chris Rock, that's what I call closing the gap. Okay? If you're a defendant and you're closing the gap, whoever closes the gap loses the self-defense argument. Okay? So if he's coming up to Chris Rock cold-cocked him right there, he probably would be, if he just testified that he felt he was in fear of physical harm, that would be self-defense. Will Smith, on the other hand, he's got absolutely no reason to walk up to him, except for to express his displeasure. How does he express his displeasure?
Oh!
Smacks him, and he smacks him hard, but with an open fist, or with an open hand. And he's lucky that he did an open hand.
Wow! Wow! Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
And Chris Rock seems, he's fazed by this, no question, but he's composed, and it was really uncalled for. I mean, you don't beat somebody up because somebody used words. You just don't.
Your wife's name out your fucking mouth.
Wow, dude.
Look how hot Will Smith is now. He wasn't hot when the joke was originally told, but he saw his wife's reaction, and he felt he's got to do something.
Yes.
It was a G.I. Jane joke.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
I'm going.
Now, the way he said that, keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth, he said it so aggressively as if to almost indicate he's going to get up again. I mean, that really was like if Chris Rock made another Jada Pinkett Smith joke, guess what? I'm getting up and I'm going to whoop your ass again.
Going to, okay? Okay.
And he says, I could. You know, Chris Rock, first of all, when you are paid, these comedians who are, at the top of their game, like Chris Rock is at the top of his game, he could say something right now to just cut this whole thing, to the quick. But instead of escalating it, he does the right thing. He de-escalates it.
That was a greatest night in the history of television. Okay.
So, all right. So that's the sum total, and then Chris Rock proceeds to just handle himself in a classy way. Now, what is assault? Assault is the imminent apprehension of bodily harm, and battery is the actual touching. But for assault, you don't even have to touch somebody for assault. In a lot of jurisdictions, they don't have assault and battery; they just have assault. Assault can be an unwanted touching. That slap certainly is an assault. And when you assault somebody like that, in this case, the cops were called, or they were probably there already because I'm sure they had security, all kinds of security there. They asked Chris Rock do you want to press charges. Now, in domestic assaults, they typically don't ask the woman if they want to press charges, because if you put that charging decision in the hands of somebody who's being abused, then that leaves them open to further abuse. And so the decision to charge somebody or not rests with the state or the city prosecutor or county prosecutor, whoever it happens to be. And so they don't have. So typically, a domestic assault victim does not have the ability to charge or not charge somebody with a crime. But in this case, there are larger concerns. You've got Chris Rock, who is, high profile, and he doesn't want this to go any further. So he declined. He says, "I don't want to press any charges. Let's just let this die." Even when he had a show in Boston. And he doesn't really talk about this event, because it was all over the news. And so when you have an assault case, and I just tried two and won both of them, and they were in self-defense was alleged in both of them. And when you have a self-defense case, it's up to the state to prove that the defendant did not act in self-defense. Let me say that again. When you have a self-defense case, it's up to the state to prove that the defendant did not act in self-defense. Now, there's absolutely no self-defense that Will Smith could allege here. Zero. I mean, that was just a bald-faced assault. And when the state has to prove a negative, and self-defense is basically presumed. That's a really tall burden for the state. I can only count on one hand, on one finger, the number of self-defense cases that I've lost over 23, 24 years. I generally don't lose them. If I get the instruction, I usually win. But now, look at this. Will Smith did that whole thing for one person, and that was for his wife. I'm not going to go into the history of their relationship and try to psychoanalyze the relationship between he and his wife. But was it worth it? I mean, Chris Rock, I don't know if he's a nice guy or a dick. I don't know anything about him. But he certainly handled himself well, I thought, and classy. And, Will Smith, will this impact his career? I don't know if it will or not. I have no crystal ball in that. I mean, he will get disciplined by the Academy. We all get in situations where tempers fly, right? And if you look at Chris Rock, or not Chris Rock, when you look at Will Smith, that second time he says, "Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth." I mean, he is fucking hot. And if he would have just said, "Come on, man," or just did nothing, if he would have just done nothing, and then maybe said something to reporters later, or sometime later, just express his displeasure with Chris Rock in a different way, he wouldn't have overshadowed the whole rest of the night, right? And it's my understanding from reporting that Will Smith has now resigned from the Academy, and what that's, and I don't know if that takes away, because the Academy has implemented a disciplinary action against him, and they're going to meet. I think it's like 54 people or so. They're going to meet and decide what sanction, if any, to give Will Smith. And if he resigned from the Academy, I don't know if that takes away. People typically do that kind of thing when they want to avoid the discipline. Okay, and when you avoid the discipline, it's like if you have an ethics investigation in Congress, like Michelle Bachmann did, and then she decided not to run again. So then she's not there, so that takes away any jurisdiction that they had over her, so there's no further investigation. And if he resigns from the Academy and he's no longer a member, do they have any jurisdiction to do anything? I suppose they could take away the Oscar. Why would they do that? I mean, the two aren't really related, and that seems to me to be an extreme sanction. But in retrospect, I guarantee Will Smith, well, I don't guarantee it. I mean, I don't know what he's thinking. But if it were me, I would say that wouldn't have been worth it. There's 1,000 different ways that you could handle that better. And but if you felt like you had to be a badass in front of your wife just to please your wife, that's an issue. Because your wife, you shouldn't be in that position because your wife, her honor was not at stake. It was a very small joke, and maybe bad taste, but didn't require any assaultive behavior on anybody. And I like Will Smith, and I like Chris Rock. I like them both a lot. And they're both super talented guys. But he was asked to leave, and he didn't leave. And if he was asked to leave, I think that would have even detracted more from the evening. And he gave a great speech, and I understand that he's now made amends with Chris Rock, hopefully. But what I think this is a lesson in is self-control. And like what I was telling you before, we show up at a club or in line someplace. I'll give you an example. I had a client who was in line at a food store. It was during COVID. He had gone to McDonald's. He was getting food for his kids and his girlfriend. And this is one of these numbers. He's got 2 guns on him. He does no record, concealed carry permit. And he goes in line to a store, right? And this guy butts in front of him. And the two start jawing back and forth. This is over being in line at a fucking food store. And this guy is much bigger than my client. My client was a little guy. And they start pushing each other in line. All of a sudden, my guy pulls out his fucking guns. What are you doing that for? And the guy's like, what? And it doesn't scare him. the guy turns around, and his girlfriend's trying to keep him away. Turns out they even know each other because they have a cousin in common. They're almost related, but they didn't know it at the time. And then he attacks my client, and my client shoots him and kills him. All over what? Over little dick syndrome. You know, just ego. And that's what that was. You know, that was Will Smith losing his cool over something that really he shouldn't have lost his cool that much over. Sure, you could be upset with somebody, and you could say, you know, don't talk about my fucking wife. You know, I mean, that's all I need to be said. In fact, if he just sat in his chair and just uttered the words that he said, the rest of the evening would have been just fine, and he wouldn't have the problems that he has now. But my client's decision to do that, you know, is disproportional force, and we wound up getting him a good deal. He wound up having to plead guilty because he was going to lose big, and we argued a range, and I got probably about 10 years less than the prosecutor wanted on that case. But it was all over position in line at a food store. You know, you guys, honestly, keep your cool. Live to fight another day. Don't get in a beef over something stupid, which is what this was, which is what my client experienced. You know, and in that case, he's no longer, I mean, he's still dead, but he no longer can have, you know, daily contact with his children because he's in prison, and he's going to be in prison for 180 months. And the other guy that started this whole thing, he's no longer with us. And he had kids too. They don't have a father over something so small. So remember, and I'm really talking to the young guys out there. I mean, I don't see this kind of shit with women, to be honest with you. I mean, sure, women do their things sometimes, but it's always young guys with little dick syndrome, you know, just trying to be a badass. So anyway, this has been another episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I appreciate all the love and support. You guys give a shout out to Michael. He's recouping, but he's doing great. He's behind the camera right now. And we're doing a lot more shows. So remember, follow us on Instagram, Twitter. Sign up for Patreon because we're doing good work there too. And order a hat and display it proudly. Spread the message. Stop self-snitching. I'm Bruce Rivers. Thank you very much.